All right, we are reaching the end of our free motion quilting series, and today we're going to be using our wavy line as a block filler. This one is a stunning design, but it's super simple to execute, so we're going to show you how in today's video. Just a reminder that this is a big video series that we're doing where we're showing you how you can use 4 simple quilting stitches that you can get the muscle memory down by using stencils from Full Line Stencil, and then show you an infinite number of ways that you can customize that so you have so many possibilities for your next quilt and you will not feel intimidated when it's time to actually tackle that. We have stencil packs so you can get the stencils, you can get your muscle memory down. We have quilt kits in 4 different colorways so you can practice with nice solid fabrics so that way you're focusing on your quilt stitches and those are going to be the star of the show. And then we also have the pattern, which is written both for Quilts As You Go for your home sewing machine and then also how to put it all together so you can just stitch on the long arm. And you are going to see me both do this on the domestic and on the long arm for this video, so you're going to be able to follow along no matter what machine you're working on. All right, let's get started like we always do with a little bit of sketching. All right, this is not square, this is not to scale. That's no big deal. We're not worried about that. We're planning our quilt path for how to do this wavy line. We're going to use the quilt square that we started when we did our swirls, and we use that as a background filler. So you want to make sure you've done that video first. And then we're going to fill in the center of that with our wavy lines. So what I'm going to do here, and I've actually already done this on mine, is I'm just going to mark the center of that because that's where we're going to head back to get to everything. Now, when you are quilting, your path is very important. We've talked about it a lot over this series, but you need to go where you're going next. You need to have a plan so that way you don't quilt yourself into a corner. So in this case, we are always going to come back to the center. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a wavy line out to my point here, and then a wavy line back. And then I'm going to do a wavy line to my point and a wavy line back. I'm trying not to cross over those wavy lines, but it is going to get kind of dense towards that center. But by just going clockwise around those points, I'm going to be able to create something that looks really, really cool. And you can kind of have some leeway here when you're getting in these bigger points. You can do kind of bigger wavy lines to fill that out. And it's getting like super dense. Obviously the whiteboard is, you know, it's a thick marker. It's not the same thing as doing it with thread, but you're getting the point. We're going to do a wavy line out. We're going to do a wavy line back. We are not trying to stay on the same wavy line. We're trying to make a new one. And so when we get done, we end up with this cool thing that looks like a cool star or flower, and it looks really, really awesome. But you got to pick where you're coming back to. And in this case, it's always going to be that center. All right, let's do it with needle and thread. All right, so I've got my block that we previously stitched, and I made a little plus in the center there with a friction gel pen that will go away with heat. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to come in and I'm going to drop my needle right in the center of where that plus is. I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread. And then I'm just going to start by stitching in place a couple of times. That is going to secure those threads really well. We will not have to worry about them coming apart later, especially with all of the backtracking we're going to be doing to get to here. All right, so I'm just kind of moving those threads off to the side. We'll clip them off in a little bit. But we're just going to start doing a wavy line, kind of going off to the center a little bit of that. In theory, you would probably have like some, you know, some seams that you could avoid. And we're going to work our way back down, back to center. I'm trying to hit that center point. Now I'm going to do a wavy line, and you can get as big as you want, really. You can really kind of have some fun with this, making it nice and large as long as we eventually end up with that point, and then back our way out. Eventually you do kind of want to come in some, because we are going to have another wavy line coming out to the next point. And it's okay if you cross over a little bit as you're going here. The idea is, though, if you cross over one time, you should do it more than once, because then it looks intentional instead of like a mistake. And I'm kind of turning my block. You should not be doing that. You should really just be going side to side, back to front. That is looking a lot smoother now that I'm not trying to turn my block. Because you can't do it when you got a big quilt under here. You really just have to go left, right, front, back. Can't be turning your quilt. All right, we're just going to keep making our way around this block, going from point to center. All right, gotta move this around so it's out of my way. All right, we're at the final end here, so I'm going to stitch a couple times in place. Then I'm going to pull my bobbin thread to the top. And that's stitching a couple times in place. That kind of locks your threads in place so that you're able to just snip them off. The quilt police will tell you otherwise. But that really only matters if you are going to have your quilt judged. You wouldn't want to do that. But this is a sample. We are learning. It is a class. It doesn't matter. You're fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab all my threads here in the center. Get them all a nice little snip as close as we can to there, and it looks great, and it's going to hold up great too. Now, I think I told you guys in one of the other videos that I don't always love my quilting right after I finished it, and that's because you're like this quilting it. And you know where every single flaw is, you know where you could have done better. But then when I look at it from a distance like this, I'm like, that is pretty good. And like I've said many times, I'm much better on the long arm than I am on my domestic because I use it all the time. But if you are using your domestic all the time, that will be your primary one that you get really good at. And I really do like how this turned out. Like when I was quilting it, it was like, ooh, I don't know. But now that I'm seeing it all together, I think it looks really cool. I think it's going to look better when I do it on the long arm. But I love how this kind of comes out. It reminds me like of a flower. It's so pretty. And then you've got your background filler of the swirls at a smaller distance or density, so that way this kind of pops, and it really is just so fun. And it was simple, easy lines. Simple, easy lines. You just kind of have to plan your path, know where you're going, and be able to get there. So that's the hard part. That's the part that takes a little bit of practice. But the actual stitching is not hard. You can do this. You can make spectacular quilts. You can take your simple block pattern and you can make a spectacular looking star out of it by treating your center different than you treat your background and really making that come to life. And it looks absolutely fantastic. All right, just a reminder that we have quilt kits available in 4 different colors for this, so you can use your solid fabrics, so your threads and your quilting can be the star of the show. Plus, you'll be able to see what you're doing and not be have a hard time seeing it because you're using some ugly fabric that you're buying and you can't see your threads very well and your stitching lines. You want to be able to have contrast and see when you are learning. And also we've got the Stencil Pack, so that way you can get the initial muscle memory down so you can customize the stitches from there. And make sure you grab your pattern, which has instructions both for quilts as you go and to assemble the whole top and sew on your long arm. All right, we've just got one more tutorial video left for stitching, and then we're ready to get our quilt top together if you've been doing quilts as you go. And I think we'll do one final video where I kind of just like chat about the differences between them, and we'll show the finished quilts for that one. So it'll be a little bit before I film it, but for you guys at home watching, thanks to the magic of editing, you won't have to wait very long. You'll be able to watch it pretty much right away. But I think it would be fun to show you guys the differences between what the blocks look like on the what I've done on my home sewing machine versus what it looks like on the long arm. I think that would be fun, a little fun experiment. So I love this one. I think it looks great, and I think you guys will too. All right, until next time, happy quilting.